Welcome to Brainish English Stories.
The Brangwyn family was going to move away from Beldover. The father had to live in the town now for his job. Birkin had gotten a paper to marry Ursula, but Ursula kept waiting. She did not want to choose a date. She still could not decide. She had given 1 month's notice to leave her job at the grammar school, and it was already the 3rd week. Christmas was coming soon. Gerald was waiting for Ursula and Birkin to get married. It was very important to him. "Should we have a double wedding?" he asked Birkin one day. "Who is the second couple?" Birkin asked. "Gudrun and me," said Gerald, with a playful smile in his eyes. Birkin looked at him seriously, a little surprised. "Are you serious, or just joking?" Birkin asked. "Oh, I'm serious. Should Gudrun and I get married with you two at the same time?" "Go ahead," said Birkin. "I didn't know you had come that far." "What do you mean, that far?" Gerald asked, laughing. "Oh yes, we've done everything," said Gerald. "Now you need to make it more formal and with a good purpose," Birkin said. "Yes, something like that. It's a big decision," Gerald said, smiling. "Well," said Birkin, "it's a good thing to do, I think." Gerald looked at him carefully. "Why don't you seem excited?" he asked. "I thought you really liked the idea of marriage." Birkin shrugged his shoulders. "Being excited about marriage is like being excited about noses. There are all kinds of noses, short and big." Gerald laughed. "And there are all kinds of marriages, good and bad," he said. "That's right," said Birkin. "Do you think my marriage will be bad?" asked Gerald with a curious look. Birkin laughed quickly. "How do I know what it will be?" he said. "Don't use my own words against me." Gerald thought for a moment. "But I really want to know what you think," he said. "About your marriage? Or about getting married? Why do you want my opinion?" "I don't have any opinions. I'm not interested in legal marriage one way or the other. It's just about what is easiest." But Gerald kept looking at him closely. "It's more than that, I think," Gerald said seriously. "Even if you don't care about the rules of marriage, getting married for someone is very important and final." "You mean there is something final about going to the office with a woman to get married?" "If you come back home with her, yes," said Gerald. "It's something that can't be undone." "Yes, I agree," said Birkin. "No matter what people think about legal marriage, getting married for real is final." "I believe it is," said Birkin. "In some way. So the question is, should someone do it?" said Gerald. Birkin looked at him carefully, with a smile in his eyes. "You are like Lord Bacon, Gerald," Birkin said. "You talk like a lawyer or like Hamlet asking, to be or not to be. If I were you, I wouldn't get married. But ask Gudrun, not me." "You're not marrying me, are you?" Gerald didn't listen to the last part of what Birkin said. "Yes," he said. "One has to think about it carefully. It's very important. You reach a point where you must choose one way or the other. And marriage is one way." "And what is the other way?" Birkin asked quickly. Gerald looked at him with hot, serious eyes. Birkin didn't understand the look. "I don't know," Gerald answered. "If I knew that." He moved nervously and didn't finish his sentence. "You mean if you knew what the other choice was?" Birkin asked. "And since you don't know, marriage is your only option." Gerald looked up at Birkin with the same serious eyes. "One does feel like marriage is the only option," he said. "Then don't do it," said Birkin. "I'm telling you the same thing I've said before. Marriage the old way seems bad to me. Two people living together only for themselves is not a good thing. It's like hunting in pairs. Everyone living in their own little house, only caring about their own small things, and living their own small lives. It's the most awful thing in the world. I agree with you, said Gerald. There is something bad about it. But like I said, what's the other option? We should avoid this idea of having a home. It's not a natural feeling, it's just fear. People should never have a home, said Birkin. I really agree, said Gerald. But there's no other choice. We have to find one. I do believe in a lasting relationship between a man and a woman. Changing partners all the time is just exhausting. But a long relationship between a man and a woman isn't the best thing. It's not the final answer. Yes, that's true, said Gerald. In fact, said Birkin, because people think the relationship between a man and a woman is the most important and only one. That's why there is so much pain, tightness, and bad feelings. Yes, I believe you, said Gerald. We need to stop thinking that love and marriage are everything. We need something bigger. I believe there can be another kind of perfect relationship between two men. Something different but still as important as marriage. I don't see how they can be the same, said Gerald. They're not the same, but they are just as important, just as creative, and just as special. I know, said Gerald. You believe that, but I can't feel it. He put his hand on Birkin's arm with a kind of sad affection. He smiled like he had already given up. He was ready to feel doomed. For him, marriage felt like a punishment. He was ready to be unhappy in marriage, like a prisoner sent to work in dark underground mines, living no life in the light, but only doing painful work. He was ready to accept this, and marriage was like the mark of his punishment. He was ready to be marked in this dark place, like a soul that was punished forever. But he could not make a real, honest connection with anyone else. He couldn't. Marriage was not about being in a real relationship with Gudrun. It was about accepting the rules of the world. He would agree to the rules even though he didn't really believe in them. Then he would hide in his dark life. This is what he would do. The other option was to accept Rupert's offer of friendship, to enter into a real connection of trust and love with another man, and then later with the woman. If he made a promise to the man, then he would be able to make a promise to the woman later. Not just in legal marriage, but in a true, deep relationship. But he could not accept Rupert's offer. He felt numb. Maybe it was because he didn't have the will, or maybe his will had died. He was strangely happy with Rupert's offer. But he was even more happy to refuse it, not to make any commitment.